In a land where cacti outnumber cell towers and the horizon stretches further than a fiber optic cable, it's time for Valley's Bits, Bytes and Banter, the podcast that looks a bit behind the scenes of a broadband provider, takes a big bite out of the tech world, and serves up a healthy dose of banter with people in our community. And now, without further ado, here's your host, Bob Dahlstrom.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Valley's Bits, Bytes, and Banter. The podcast, as Lee Patterson said at the top of the show, I'm Bob Dahlstrom, along with my partner in crime, Ralph Score.
How's it
going, Ralph?
I am, yeah.
You're here too?
I'm here.
We made it.
I think I'm here.
Yeah, well, last I checked, we're here. Hope everybody's having a great day today. As always, we have a great guest today. We just keep to see him raise the bar. Every episode of the guests we have, Ralph, we do.
We've got someone who's national.
No offense to all your previous guests.
Notwithstanding.
Say it again, Jeremy.
No offense to all your previous guests.
We've had some fantastic guests. And if you have not listened to our previous episodes, you know you can find them on Podbean. Go on there and search Valley's Bits, Valleys with an apostrophe, easiest way to find it. Podbean.com or the app. You can find them on iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on our website, vtc.net/blog. They're all there. And on YouTube or wherever you download your podcasts. You can find our episodes.
I think there's about 20 different outlets that are carrying it right now.
There really are. And we have had some phenomenal guests. Yeah. And as Jeremy mentioned, no shade thrown at other guests.
I've listened to all of them. They're all been great.
I appreciate that.
They have all been great.
Good.
Bouncing it across the board.
The unvarnished truth, right, Jeremy? That's what we're talking right there. Yeah. So at the top of the let's talk a little bit about technology.
Okay.
You brought some stuff to the table, Ralph.
You know, one of the things we key into a lot nowadays is, of course, cybersecurity, because it's something that it just affects everybody across the board. And we talk about internet safety. We talk about some of the basics and fundamentals. We talk about, things you have to watch out for, like phishing attacks with your email. And the ishing is a big thing because now there's phishing, there's smishing, there's vishing, there's spear phishing, and there's reverse call phishing, right? So there's all kinds of stuff. And it's really being vigilant and being careful. And we just got this down today. This is from CISA, which is the America's Cyber Defense Agency, CISA.gov. And this is 4 things, just basic fundamentals to keep you cyber safe. And one of them is turn on multi-factor authentication. If you don't know what that is, sometimes it's called two-factor authentication. It basically, they mean the same thing. They're opting into an extra step for trusted websites. And what they'll do is they'll either send you something to your email or they'll send you something to your phone, a code that you can then enter in on to authenticate that you are who you are.
And there are authenticator apps now as well, like we use here at work, that are only for you, that are proprietary to you and your logins.
Yeah, and actually as well. And I think the recommendation is I would not do it with an email. I would do it through your phone because if somebody were to hack your email, then they could get access to that code as well.
Correct.
So, a couple other things, of course, is update your software. People don't think about that all the time.
Unless you see the big blue screen of death that everybody saw this past week or so when that happened with the update your software. But normally, right, that's the rare occasion.
But the thing you want to do is you want to auto-update, right? Because most software out there, most of the updates are software patches that are security patches, and they're trying to catch up to the hackers is what they're trying to do.
Yes, they are.
Another one is, and this comes back to the phishing thing, is just think before you click. If something doesn't look right or if it just seems a little out of whack, check the address of who it's coming from, make sure the spelling looks right, but don't click on links if you don't know who this person is or if you haven't verified who this is coming from.
Well, the old adage is still true, right? If it looks too good to be true, it probably is, even on a line.
Exactly. And what they'll do is, and I learned this from storytelling a long time ago, is we push emotional buttons, and the two most prevalent buttons somebody will push on you is elation. Oh my gosh, look what I get for this.
Right.
And the other one is fear. Right. In other words, fear will always make people take action. Right. In other words, oh my gosh, my kid's in trouble. I'm going to go to jail. My account got whacked. And they want you to react to it, and they want you to take action. So really be careful. And finally, the last one is about passwords. It's like, the most common password is password 123456. It really is. That's the most common password used in the world.
What was that, Spaceballs? That's the passcode on my luggage. What in the world?
Exactly. And here a couple of tips with that. Number one, you want to use a different password for everything. The problem is that a lot of people get lazy. They may have 25 different accounts out there, and they'll use 5 passwords for everything. So if they get a hold of one, and they use random number generators to go ahead and try to figure out your password. The hackers, they use some pretty slick technology. So basically, 12 to 16 characters is what you want to have. And we've talked about this before, Bob. A passphrase instead of a password. Maybe it's
that's one way to do it, right?
Maybe it's a lyric line or something like that you like, maybe a Bible verse. And then you can always throw it into and put in some numbers for letters, like a 3 instead of an E and that kind of thing.
Combination of uppercase, lowercase, things like that to really kind of scramble it.
Exactly. And finally, it's like, where do you put your passwords, right? You can get password storage services that you
I put them in the notes in my phone.
Yeah, I put Post-it notes on my desk.
Is that where you should keep them?
Yeah, of course.
Under the keyboard.
And the thing is, you want it secure. You don't want it to be somewhere where anybody can just see it. And if you do use a password storage service, you want to make sure that you really secure that password, because that's going to be the key to everything you've got out there.
Well, if you use the goal being if you use a password manager app, that gives you one password that you have to memorize.
And you better protect it.
You better protect it well.
Yeah.
Because that's the key to everything.
Yeah. So that's just, a lot of this is common sense, and it's really about being vigilant, and now we're into the world of AI, and this is where it really gets critical, because all of a sudden ads are looking like they're the real deal. I've seen stuff on Instagram where it's like from Sam Ash in New York, who's they're going out of business, big music store, and they're saying, hey, look at this deal. You can get this 1960 Les Paul guitar for $40.
What an incredible deal.
Yeah.
But again, if it sounds too good to be true.
And people will go there because it looks like an affiliate marketer. And affiliate marketers are legit. They're basically a link that's going to get a commission and that kind of stuff. But, go to Sam Ash and find out.
I had somebody recently ask me, they showed me an ad or a post they had gotten on Facebook, showed up in their timeline. It looked like a bunch of their friends had posts on it, and it looked legitimate.
Yeah.
And it was one of those posts where, look at all these pallets Amazon's selling for $29. I want to buy a pallet, but I want to know if it's true. And finally, my response was, you used to own a business. I said, yeah. Would you have sold anything in your business for $29? And they said, no.
Well, then why do you think someone else would?
So why do you think somebody else would? Yeah. Right, exactly. If it's too good to be true, it probably, and you look closer at it, it's like very photoshopped. The web address didn't match the name exactly. Those kinds of tips are things you look for.
Dash instead of a dot.
Extra letter.
And just to let you know, too, this isn't just on emails or social media. This will come in a text. I just today got 2 texts on my phone. One was about a work-at-home thing. Hey, are you interested in a work-at-home job?
Yes, I am. What do I do?
And then the other one was all about, hey, we can't deliver your package from the UPS warehouse. Can you please give us your address? And it's like, oh, sure, I'll just do that. Like it's no big deal. So anyway, just be really careful.
Just text them back and say, I'll be standing out front.
Yeah, just
come on by.
Just be really careful out that. So
very careful.
And I think we're going to have a commercial break here, but I wanted to throw one thing in here. It's a Tennessee trivia because Jeremy's from Tennessee. Okay.
Yeah, something related to Tennessee today.
So did you know that? Okay, the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe show Loki, introduced the world to the World Authority on Time Stream, known by a 3-letter acronym, and this acronym shares its name with a federal project to provide electricity, aid, and jobs to Tennessee, created in 1933 by FDR and still under operation. What is that?
I know what it is.
TVA.
Oh, that's you got it. You got it.
Good job, Jeremy.
He better have got that right.
Ding, 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 ding.
Come on, Tennessee trivia. Let's go. I thought it was going to be Moose Pies or Jack Daniels.
Yeah. Well, that's Lynchburg.
He'd have those locked down, too.
That's Lynchburg, Tennessee. That's Lynchburg, Tennessee. Anyway, so...
Very good. All right. A lot of fascinating stuff there. Speaking of fascinating stuff, we're going to get into our interview with our guest here right after the break. We'll be right back. Everybody stick around.
Valley Telecom Internet keeps you connected at the speed of life. Our fiber optic network provides fast speeds with unlimited data, whether you're gaming, streaming, or downloading your favorite podcasts. To find out what speeds are available in your area, give us a call at 800-421-5711 or go to vtc.net. Life moves pretty fast, and so should your internet. So get connected with Valley Telecom. And don't forget to download the latest episodes of Valley's Bits, Bytes, and Banter wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back, everybody, after the break. Thanks for tuning in to Valley's Bits, Bytes, and Banter podcast. You can find it wherever you download your podcasts, including at Podbean, iHeart, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts or on YouTube. You can even, and I say watch it. We don't videotape these yet. We're talking about sometime in the future, adding video to our podcast. But I do want to throw out there, if you have any questions, comments, ideas, things you'd like us to cover or talk about, you can always email us at podcast@teamvtg.net.
So you're going to videotape these? That tells how old we are.
We're going to put them in the VCR.
We're going to set the recording.
Well, I will comment to that because the word film, the film can either be a noun or a verb, right? In other words, when we talk about somebody goes, "You're using celluloid," I go, "No, I am filming as in I am doing an action as opposed to using film." But did you know that film is still very prevalent in Hollywood because of people like Christopher Nolan and Steven Spielberg?
And certain projects.
When they're shooting 65 millimeter IMAX film, guess what they're shooting?
Polaroids?
Yeah, something like that.
Polaroids. All right. Anyway, well,
I still own an opaque projector, just to let you know.
Gosh.
I still have old rolls of 35 millimeter film laying around my house undeveloped. So do with that what you will. Yeah. So let's get into this. Let's talk to our special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest, he's a graduate of Missouri State University and the University of Tennessee. That's the important one. He has been a major player in our industry for a long time. You like that? He started out as a director of marketing and customer service with NCTC, right? Yep. Moved up to regional business manager with NRTC. You were once the chief strategy officer here at Valley Telecom.
I was, yes.
And is now the president of Pivot Group and all the things they do. We're going to talk about that. He's an awesome guest, a volunteer, and I don't mean just like in the organization, University of Tennessee volunteer. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is Jeremy Graves. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm good, guys. Good to see you guys. It's fun to be back.
Yeah, it is fun to be back. It has been a little while,
It's
right?
been a minute, yeah.
Now, I have a question about the volunteers. So how come the state flag doesn't have volunteer orange in it?
We're working on that.
That's a good thing.
The other universities might have something to say about that, but anything with orange is good. That was one of my first reactions with Pivot. Pivot had a lot of orange in it, so I like that.
I know. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw orange. Is like that tracks.
Every time our designers talk about a brand change, I'm like, do whatever you want, just don't take the orange out.
Don't touch the orange. And it's officially Tennessee Orange, right? That's the name of the orange that they use. Right, yeah. I love that. That's like, we're just going to call it what it is. It's Tennessee Orange. So, Jeremy, you're a busy man. You travel all over the place. Pivot Group, their main headquarters is in Portland.
That's right.
But you live in Tucson.
That's right.
So, speaking of technology, I mean, technology plays a big role, right, in your job and what you're able to do. I mean, it did in every one of these jobs, but especially now running a company, heading up teams, and visiting clients. I mean, that's gotta be a good thing to have the technology you need.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's none of us could do what we do now without the tools and software. And it's funny because where I am in Tucson, even when I worked here at Valley, I lived in Tucson,
right?
And I always wished that I had the service that Valley provided in Tucson from my provider there, because I don't have fiber where I am. I don't have gigabit services. And
right.
So a lot of people, especially in rural areas, they're really fortunate to have what they have, especially when a lot of people in urban areas still don't have that. But yeah, I mean, listen, we couldn't do what we do, and especially, since COVID totally changed everything, where, at least we had probably half our staff that were in the Portland office the majority of the time, and I'd fly up there once a month and be able to see everybody. But once everybody went home, right? And then now everybody's kind of stayed home. But one of the things is you've got to have the whatever the best service you can have, you've got to have, because, we rely on Zoom or Microsoft Teams to be able to make contact and stay in face-to-face conversation with our clients. And if you don't have a great service at home for that, just like I said, the software and the hardware and the internet service, and you just can't perform in today's work environment.
And, you're right. We're very fortunate to have the fiber network in many of our communities we serve, and in the next few years, pretty much everywhere we serve, we're going to have fiber. So that's going to be a big boon. And you just hit it on the head. Even now, many metro areas don't have that type of service available. So our rural people, We're very fortunate.
They are, but it's funny, Ralph said elation and fear, right, are what drive people to do things. So about a week ago, I got an email from my provider, which I will not name, and it said, fiber's available in your area, and I had this elation, and I click, and I go to their website to sign up, right, and then it was like, oh, but not in your area. So
but not
the
you.
email said my area, but when I dug a little deeper, it was like, oh, but not you. So anyway, Ralph hit the nail on the head. Elation and fear drive a lot of action.
I love that when they go, you, not you,
Yep.
you, and you're always the not you.
Exactly.
That's what happens.
Exactly.
So tell me what exactly you're getting involved in right now with Pivot. I know customer experience, obviously, in our industry and in every industry, right? We should really be thinking a lot about our customers and how we serve them. But you're evangelist about it. You go around into all the different companies and teach them about it and all that. And let's talk a little bit about customer experience.
That's a great word. I think I had that on my LinkedIn profile for years. Like I evangelize the customer experience. So what happened was, we're a marketing and advertising agency, right? That's what Pivot does. When I was here at Valley, Pivot helped us with our marketing and advertising.
And they still do.
Still do. And so what began to happen over time was we began to offer training services to staff. And so at the time, it was like, hey, if marketing's working great, how do we teach and motivate our frontline teams to encourage people to choose us for different services? And what hit me one time was that word encourage, because I thought, I don't want to teach people to sell, right? But what I want to make sure that people understand is, how do we not miss moments to encourage the people that we can serve to allow us to serve them?
Right.
Right. And so that word serve and encourage and motivate just really kind of resonated with me and just kind of sunk into my soul. And and this was probably 8-9 years ago, before CX was really this phrase or this well-known industry term. And so our training then began to evolve into, how can we serve better? Because if you can serve better, then people are going to want to do business with you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But do it in a way that's super genuine. Don't do it because you want people to choose you. Do it because this is the right thing to do. It is the right way to treat people. And if you do that, then people are going to organically want to continue to do business with you. So that started our CX practice within Pivot. So you got to have great marketing. And so the realization was, eventually every subscriber is going to have multiple providers for fiber or for gigabit services. And listen, we have some of our clients are multi-gig services. And so and eventually it's all going to be about $100 price point for gigabit services. And so the reality is, for any organization, whether you're in broadband or any industry that you're in, when you have multiple competitors, that's going to drive the price to a singular place. What is the thing that's going to set you apart? And the thing that should set you apart is not what you offer, but how you offer it.
Right.
And so that's the thing that we really get into with a lot of clients now, is how do we identify where are the places that we're not serving as well as we can? Where are the places our customers would like to see us serve differently? And how are we going to set ourselves up for differentiation by how we serve? And so that's the real fun part, because that allows an organization to be truly unique. Right. What is it about you that's different that you can now go out and take that to your communities and the folks that you serve? And so that's what we help a lot of companies do.
And the funny part is, that is harder to figure out and quantify than many companies may think, right? When you ask that question pointedly to people, what makes you different than everybody? Yeah, every other competitor provides internet.
Yeah.
What makes you different?
Yeah.
And that is a hard question to answer.
It's a hard question to answer, especially because sometimes people will say the things that they think make them different,
right?
But is actually the exact same thing every other company would say, right? Because especially in our industry and in these rural areas, and even a lot of companies like Valley, they're edging out and going into some bigger areas. And they'll say things like local, we have great customer care, we're loyal, our members mean more, right? These are the same things every other company is saying, right? So
even if they're true, they're true. But
they are true, but it's still not unique,
to a customer.
Right? It's still not unique. And so it's even like when we work with branding projects, like you got to truly dig to figure out what not only makes you unique, but what are the things you and your staff are willing to do to actually be unique.
Right.
And so that's the fun part of the work.
I think isn't that part of too, like when we talk about what's your story, right? And the customer has a story too, So understanding what your customers are like and what that base is, and trying to dig deeper on them too, to find out how can we do something different for them than everybody else does.
Yeah, for sure. And so when we sit in meetings, and we just had one here today, and we talked about this, the majority of the time what we do is we'll set an empty chair around the table, and that chair is supposed to represent the customer. So every time there's a discussion, it's almost like visually you look at that empty chair and say, is the decision or the thing that we're talking about going to positively impact the customer or negatively impact the customer? Because some companies will say, we want to make change, but the change is all about what makes the life of the company easier,
right? Not
what makes the life of the customer easier.
Right.
And so all of that, though, involves technology. It involves software, because there are digital touch points with subscribers. There are personal touch points with subscriber. And so when we talk about CX, sometimes people think it's just the touchy-feely, daily, physical, like face-to-face interaction. But how people are engaging with your website, how people are engaging with your social media, your cell phones, like all of those things really impact the overall experience. For instance, this morning I got a text message from a small little dentist in Tucson, and the text said, hey, just want to remind you, you've got an appointment in 3 days. Let us know if this still works for you. And then the text also said, we'll give you another reminder 24 hours in advance as well. Simple little things like that those are touch points. That improves the customer experience. But a lot of companies aren't even doing those simple things. Even larger organizations, why are you not doing this when a little small dentist company can do that? And so those just little examples of how technology impacts the overall experience as well.
Well, and it's a way to make the customer feel special, individual. They're not just a number. And that you're really invested in them.
Yeah, and as long as you do it the right way. Here's a potential wrong way of doing that. I got a postcard from, I don't want to call out the airline, but I got a postcard from an airline that said, "Happy birthday, Jeremy Graves," and here's a coupon for a free drink on your next flight. And simply by the fact of, on one side you would say, oh, it's great that they remembered me. They didn't remember me. Some computer spit that out, right?
Did they spell your name? Did they at least spell your name right?
They at least spell my name right. But simply by the fact of, like, who would say happy birthday, Bob Dahlstrom? You just say happy birthday, Bob, or happy birthday, Ralph.
Exactly right.
And so sometimes it's like you use these technology and things that actually deter. You think you're doing something really kind, but simply by a word choice can actually make you feel like it came out of a computer, not out of a person.
Yeah.
And it's something like that almost makes, when you read it in your mind, you're doing it in a computer voice, because you know a computer is spitting that out.
Exactly.
Happy birthday, Jeremy Graves. Just like that.
Exactly.
You're exactly right. It's an attempt, but it's not the right attempt.
Poor execution.
Poor execution.
Yes.
Very much so. So you're like I said, you've been here today. Customer experience training is what we're going through. A lot, and as always, even we're, as a rural company, as a cooperative at our core, we serve our members. We're owned by our members, and we like to feel that our service is better than anybody's that we compete against. And I would go out to say, yes, it is, but nothing's perfect. It can always be better. So I like the idea that we're doing this, and that you're here helping us figure out how to take that next step for every department, because it affects every part of a company from top to bottom. Am I wrong?
Oh, for sure. Everybody. What's really interesting about work like this at Valley, but at other companies too, it's such a humble decision for an organization to go through to say, hey, we do think we're doing well. But right, Ralph, but where are the places we can get even better?
Yeah.
Right. And to really open up yourself to get that kind of feedback is incredibly humbling. It's like, I know you've been married a long time, Bob.
Yep.
You're a wonderful wife. You got 2 great kids. I bet if you went home and you asked your wife, where could I get better? Now, you're doing okay because you're still married. You've been married a really long time. So it doesn't mean you're doing
it. She's going to have a list.
That's
right. She might have a list, right?
She'll go, I don't know about that, and then unfold this piece of paper out of the back of her pocket.
How long do you have, right? How long do you have? Just like, my wife would do, Ralph. Yours would too, right? Yeah. So they all would. So the reality is, like, you don't go through this work when things are bad.
Right.
Because if you wait that long, you're screwed, right? You're too far gone. And so now what you're saying is, let's back things up and say, hey, while things are okay, let's try to identify where we can get better.
Right.
And that does involve every department. And a lot of people will say, man, you're playing in my sandbox, and get a little antsy and nervous about that type of thing. But for organizations that make the decision, listen, the ultimate decision is to say, where can we serve better? How can we serve better? And then who in an organization can actually be against that philosophy?
Right.
if we're just saying, man, we just want to do better. But the reality is you're asking your members, you're asking your customers that question. So it's not just internally everybody saying, what can we do better? But there's methodology and parts of it where you say, we're going to ask all of our members, tell us, where are our warts? Where can we do better? Some of it's going to be on the technological side. Some's going to be on the digital side. Some are going to be on the personal side. And so we're going to get all that feedback and then go through a process of evaluation, prioritization, and then implementation of changes. And so it's a long process, but it's going to be fun along the way.
So, Jeremy, do you do some of that with, like, say, local focus groups and that kind of thing?
Yeah. So right now we're doing it's called customer journey mapping. And so we just got a list of, 1,000, 1,500 customers that Valley has served and installed over the last year. And so we're going to be sending out a survey to all of them, and we've identified all of these touch points, all of these places in which customers come into contact with Valley and ways in which Valley serves them. So during the install, the sign-up process, getting your bill, all of those types of things. And so we're going to ask customers, how did we do along the way? Where could we do better along the way? What might make the process a little bit easier to understand or take less time or effort, create less friction? And so customers are going to share a lot of that with us. But to your point, Ralph, we also do what are called IDIs. They're in-depth interviews. So once we get that initial set of data back from your customers, we're going to pick several of those out, and we're going to have one-on-one conversations so that we can not only have the quantitative analysis, but we can have the qualitative analysis along with it. And so what's always interesting is you get a lot of this data back on the quantitative side, and you'll see a lot of people rate 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. But then when you read their comments sound like a 1 or a 2.
Yeah.
Right.
And so in any industry, right, data tells part of the story, but when you can get people to open up and share a little bit more, then you get a whole lot richer.
It's kind of like figuring out, a lot of times we figure, well, we know what they're doing, but why are they actually doing it?
Right.
It's like, why does someone actually buy something? Is it an emotional thing? It's like the need versus want, right? It's like, well, I need a car, but I want a Ferrari.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And what's always interesting too, when you go back to even your point earlier, Bob, about why people should choose you. And one thing that tends to happen, especially in our industry, is people say local a lot, right? We're the local company.
Right.
But in the CX world, what you begin to identify is if you're going to say that about yourself, what are the things you're doing that prove local?
It's not just having an office.
It's not just having office because, I said this morning, not a lot of people care about that the way they used to.
No. Right. No, it's true.
So, that's why some organizations, what they're saying is now is, okay, if we're going to define local as one of our phrases, we have to now create actions that prove local.
Right.
Right? So when you move into a neighborhood and you have kids, what's your neighbor going to tell you? They're going to tell you the schools to go to. They're going to tell you the best restaurants to go to. They're going to tell you about their neighbors. They're going to tell about all of these types of things. And so if we're going to say things about ourselves as any type of company, and we just have to make sure that our team are backing those things up with actions to prove that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of lip service if you just say it, and your actions showed otherwise. Yeah, you're not convincing a customer at all.
100%.
On that note, I can't even speak today. Jeremy's got me all flabbergasted here today with the information he's throwing out. But we're going to be right back, guys, with some more information. Stick around.
Join Bob Dahlstrom and Ralph Score right here as they provide a look behind the curtain of a broadband provider on Valley Telecom's new podcast, Bits, Bytes, and Banter. In every episode, they will take a bite out of the tech world and provide a healthy dose of banter with people in our community. Plus, they'll share funny stories and a bit about what is going on in their worlds. Look for Valley's Bits, Bytes, and Banter on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And we are back with Valley's Bits, Bytes, and Banter. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Bob Dahlstrom, your co-host, along with my partner in crime, Ralph Score. And today we're talking with Jeremy Graves, president of Pivot Group, and customer experience is what we're talking about. Jeremy, I would call you an expert on customer experience. And to wrap a bow on this a little bit before we go on, I want to ask a question because we talked earlier about the pandemic, how that changed a lot of things for companies. And at one point, even Valley went working from home full time. Everybody did. But when everything came back, it opened a lot of eyes to how things function. Some things stayed that way. Some things did not. But in customer experience, in what you've seen, what part did COVID play in where customer experience is going? Because it seems like this really came to the forefront afterwards. It's like people all of a sudden realize, like, we need to offer better experience to our customers.
Yeah.
But in what you've seen, in your estimation, what role did COVID play in that?
It's really interesting, and there's so many facets to this. And I want to back up to like the use of expert. Thank you. Clearly not, but thank you for that. You know, one thing we haven't touched on is the tie-in between customer experience and employee experience. And I think COVID really impacted employee experience, right? And this is where sometimes you have to make sure that EX and CX are working in parallel. And here's what I mean by that. So during COVID, we all went home. Right?
Yep.
So customers couldn't come into an office anymore, which really impacted a lot of customers because in areas like we live, Wilcox, you think about Safford, Clifton, Morenci, all these areas around here, people still like to be able to come into an office and pay a bill, see a smiley face, ask a question.
Talk to your neighbor.
See technology, introduce me to technology, teach me, educate me, all those types of things, which are really great. So then we all went home. So now customers didn't have that. So there was a negative CX impact on customers. But ultimately, it might have been a positive EX experience because people are like, "Oh, heck, I can work from home now. That's great. I love that." Right? But that wasn't necessarily the best thing, for our customers. Likewise, for years and years and years, we all thought nobody can do a self-install. Right? Well, when COVID hits and major pandemic, then all of a sudden we figure out how to do self-installs. Well, is that a positive or negative impact? Well, for customers who wanted it now and more quickly, they didn't have to wait for an install. They can do a self-install, right? So COVID had all of these different impacts, whether CX or EX. One of the challenging things, at least for Pivot, is how do you maintain a really great, thriving culture now when people are all dispersed, all at their own home? There's no single place where people come in together anymore in Out Valley. People are back together, but there's so many organizations that they've just decided we're just going to stay virtual.
Right.
We're just going to stay virtual.
Yeah.
And it seems there's no one size fits all.
Not for us anyway, right? Because you have all these great folks who love the ability to be able to work from home, and so you want to provide that as a benefit. But then there's this other side of like, well, we're missing some on the cultural side of things, or how do you even maintain a virtual culture in a way that's similar to what you had? And so we're all challenged with that. But as in COVID had so many, certainly negative impacts on people and families and all of those types of things. But I think a lot of companies learned a whole lot about how to use technology in a way to overcome those types of things now. And hopefully we don't have to deal with that in the future, though.
Yeah, and it kind of forced everybody, and that's just going to further evolve the experience and how companies work going forward. Like you said, that for many companies, they offer that as a benefit or a perk. You can work from home for anybody, which is great. Technology is wonderful.
Well, this podcast.
Perfect example.
We could be having this podcast anywhere on the planet.
Exactly right.
Luckily we're all three in the same room together. I know people can't see us, but the other thing for technology side of things is, COVID opened up this reality, especially for companies like Valley, to say we want to hire people who are local. Right? Valley wants to fill the roles with people who are local from the community, but there are a lot of companies who are saying, if the best person for this job is in Oregon, and my company's in South Carolina, doesn't matter. I'll hire the person that's in Oregon. But technology has allowed us to be able to have those types of choices and those types of decisions where we never would have been able to do that before.
That's true. Right. It's opened up so many different wrinkles and so many different avenues for many companies, especially, like you said, ones that may be national or even not national. If you decide in your company, I just want the best person for the job regardless of where they are. If they have the technology, they can do the job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Bob, I think, don't we have like a question for Jeremy?
We do. Now, Jeremy, one of the things we try to remember to do is ask our guest a question of the day. Now, you have no idea what the question is, but you do have control on this. This is one of those, you remember the icebreakers you used to do in the conference? That's along this line, okay? So what we do is I'm going to give you a choice. You choose between number 1 and 8. And whatever number you choose, that's the question I'm going to ask you.
I'm going to go with 8.
Number 8. Are you ready for this question? Jeremy, if you could become any mythical creature for a day, what would it be and why?
Mythical creature.
Yes, a mythical creature.
You don't look like a unicorn.
I was going to say unicorn. I think it's going to have to be a unicorn. I'm going to take a unicorn. They can fly. They can pretty much do whatever they want to do.
That's true. I haven't seen one, but I've heard that.
Yeah, no, I think I'd have to go. I think I'd have to go with a unicorn. But what are you going to choose?
I would like to be Bigfoot. for a day, because everybody thinks they see you, but they're not really sure. You can kind of be everywhere, just kind of hide in the background and observe, and just I can go anywhere I want.
Interesting, you think that's mythical. So that's a whole other conversation that we can.
Well, I'm sorry, we're not including the Oregon people.
Now
in the,
listen,
the Northwest.
Don't they have a name for that in Tennessee that's different than Bigfoot?
I'm not going to go there to offend all my Tennessee friends, but listen,
well, Oregon then, yeah. Okay.
In addition to Bits, Bytes, and Banter, that's my favorite podcast. Also, Sasquatch Chronicles is on the list as well. So, I mean,
there you go.
It's clearly a real thing.
It's a real thing.
But you keep thinking it's mythical.
In my mind, until I get a picture with me and Bigfoot together, I'm going to just leave him in that category.
Hey, wait, he's in the lobby.
Wait a minute. He's here to sign up for service right now. Ralph, you're a mythical creature.
Oh, well, that would be Bruce, the mechanical shark from Jaws, so he's mythical because he never worked properly. So
never worked properly. That's your definition of mythical.
Yeah,
great movie though.
Yeah, that's
So Jeremy, you've been living in Tucson for a while, a Tennessee native, coming out to Arizona. Big change.
Yeah.
But you guys have been here a while, and you have a great family. Love your wife and your kids.
Thanks.
What you been up to as far as I know you don't have any personal time or hobby time, but what is it that you are really getting into right now, maybe on the personal side, little hobbies, interests, that kind of thing?
Well, 17 years we've been here, so it's kind of home. We've
You're
probably
a native.
lived here. Yeah, lived here longer than we've lived anywhere else. When Jenny and I moved here, the girls, Olivia was 5, Maddie was 3, and Noah wasn't even born. Noah was born here, when I was still working here at Valley.
Yes, he was.
Jenny and I have really found a lot of great fun golfing in couples tournaments.
Oh, really?
And so, fundraising types of things for school and those types of things. And so it's been a great time for she and I to be able to spend time together, doing something different, doing something active with some friends. And, but you make it sound like all I do is ever work. I mean, I'm no busier than anybody else. Everybody these days is just super busy. That's the other downside of technology, right? Is like it allows you to have access to work all the time.
It's always in your pocket.
Yeah, right. And
always.
so I guess there's some good and bad. You got to be able to turn it off, right? And which is a good thing.
You need a balance.
You do?
You do need a balance. Ralph.
Nobody ever told me I could turn it off.
Ralph, when we hired you, we were like, right, this guy's just going to go 24/7, is never going to turn it off. You've been one of the hardest working people ever at Valley. But I wish I had some other hobbies. I don't know. I mean, I wish I was a guy who just loved to dive into books and read, but occasionally I'll do that. I love going to watch movies, but sometimes that's just a way to turn off work, is just to kind of go dive into something else. But anytime I can get to spend, like most people, with the kids. I mean, yours, I would assume, would be going to Disneyland or Disney World.
That is one of my happy places.
Yeah,
that's for sure. And we haven't done that for a couple of years, but we're empty nesters now. The kids have grown up.
Yeah.
And even when the kids grow up and move away, they're never gone, because they need advice or need help with something or what have you.
Laundry.
They show up with laundry. I understand the idea of what is. I don't have a lot of time for personal hobbies or interests, but I do have hobbies and interests, but it's not necessarily always work.
I always felt a little guilty. Especially with the travel. And even when I was here, I was driving from Tucson to Wilcox every day. And so you're on the road for 3 hours a day. And so anytime I would go home, or nowadays, whenever I go home, if I ever spend time doing something, I would just feel guilty. Like I should be with the kids. I should be with, you think you should be doing, and then you kind of realize that sometimes you lose yourself in some of that. So I think taking a step back and figuring out what can you do. So it's a great question. So thanks for making me think about that, Bob.
You bet. That's why I'm here.
I'm going to go be a better person today. Of Bits, Bytes, and Banter.
I don't know if that's possible, but I appreciate the plug, Jeremy, because you are a much better person. But anyways, Jeremy, we appreciate you being a guest
today. Good to see you guys.
Man.
This is fantastic. You guys do such a great job of this. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Hey, the guests make it great. And speaking of great guests, guys, tune in for the next episode to see who we have as a special guest on Valley's Bits, Bytes, and Banter. Have a good day, everyone.